Hello everyone, back tuning into today's first video. We're going to have a look at the ECMWF 30-day ensemble model for today's first video. And then coming up this afternoon, we'll have your regular week to 10-day video update. That's going to take you in towards the final stages of September. A lot of lively weather coming up over the next few days. We'll cover that in today's second video update. But starting us off will be our 30-day ensemble look with the ECMWF. We're at the Hungarian Met Office for this, so a big thank you to the Hungarian Met Office for supplying these charts to us. We can only show you the temperature and precipitation anomalies for the next month, broken down into weekly periods with this. We can't yet show you a mean sea level pressure or 500 millibar height anomaly. I think all of that will eventually come online, just taking a bit of time to get all of the data out of the ECMWF, but I think eventually that will find its way online somewhere at some point as well. All of this used to be very highly restricted stuff just 2 or 3 years ago. Anything beyond 10 days from the ECM really was very restricted. You had to be pro-Met or pay a lot of money to be able to access this data. And very, very gradually, it's all beginning to appear online. So we have these 30-day charts appearing at the Hungarian Met Office. We're also able now to bring you more seasonal updates from the ECMWF themselves. So very gradually, it's all beginning to appear, but it is taking a while to do it. But you can get a rough idea from the temperature and precipitation anomalies actually what the broad pattern will probably be. So I'll talk you through that right now. And then I say this afternoon we'll have a look at weather for the next week to 10 days. So we're going to start off with the week 1 temperature anomaly for the UK and for Europe as well. This is taking us from the 17th of September through to the 23rd. So you see quite a warm scene actually across many parts of Europe, from Spain and Portugal in the southwest up to France, and then over to Germany, Poland, and then up to northeast Europe and into western Russia. Generally looking really quite warm, much warmer than average in those areas, with temperature anomalies of like 3 to 6 degrees above average. So late summer warmth continues. Much of the Med is also looking pretty warm as well, generally warmer than average through the Mediterranean. Down across Greece, I suppose it's nearer normal there, but actually not too bad at all. Many parts of Scandinavia, or certainly eastern Scandinavia, so these southwestern parts of Sweden, for example, southeastern parts of Sweden coming out a little bit warmer than average. Denmark also comes out warmer than average, and much of England and Wales is coming out a little bit warmer than average as well. However, it is cooler across Ireland, Scotland, and then going up to Norway, so temperature anomalies there actually a little bit cooler than average. Really the only places in Europe, and I suppose down across North Africa as well, a little bit cooler than average for North Africa, but most places it is a warm scene in the week ahead from the 17th to the 23rd of September. Much more unsettled in the northwest of Europe this week as well. Significantly wetter than average, or above average, with precipitation quite significantly so for Norway, and also going down into the UK and Ireland as well. So you can clearly see much more influence from the jet stream in that far northwestern corner of Europe. Much more unsettled, with substantially above average precipitation, especially for southwestern western parts of Norway. However, most other central parts of Europe are coming out a little bit drier than average. So again, you can see where the ridge is likely to be now. Essentially, you would have the ridge of high pressure from France and then going into the central, ultimately probably southeastern parts of Europe. And then you'd have the jet stream up here, and that's where all of the low pressure would be, of course, around there. And so that's the reason the far northwestern corner would be wetter than average, and many central parts of Europe would be drier than average. And then down through the Mediterranean, so a bit of a mixed bag from area to area. Many parts of Spain and Portugal are coming out drier than average. This central bowl of the Mediterranean, well, in the west, so for the holiday islands, the Balearic Islands, of Corsica, of Minorca, Mallorca, Ibiza, the Balearic Islands, there we are generally a little bit drier than average, but going over to Corsica and Sardinia, we see that it's actually a little bit wetter than average. And then through Italy, a bit of a mixed bag there as well. A little bit on the dry than average side through most places though. And down into the southeast of Europe, dry than average through Greece, Turkey and up to the Balkans also. Week 2 temperature anomalies from the 24th through to the 30th of September look like that. Going quite cool actually for northern parts of Europe. So Scandinavia is going cooler than average, between around 1 and 3 degrees below average. The UK and Ireland also looking quite cool really, close to or a little bit cooler than average there as well. Those cooler temperature anomalies are extending down this eastern side of Europe. So from kind of like Scandinavia down to the Black Sea, most areas are coming out from sort of Poland eastwards around or a little bit cooler than average. In the west and the southwest of Europe, that's where it's warmer than average. So France, Spain, Portugal, up to Germany, then down to Italy, into the Mediterranean, looking quite warm for those areas. But the far northwest, and also those eastern regions, average or a bit cooler than average. Precipitation is looking like that in week 2 from the 24th through to the 30th of September. So it's rather drier than average in the west and the southwest. And also up in the northeast of Europe, it looks a little bit closer to, or a bit wetter than average there. So I suspect that ridge of high pressure is kind of like pulling out into the middle of the Atlantic probably, and so the jet stream is probably doing something a bit like that. And so that's the reason that the northwest and the north generally is coming out a little bit cooler than average. I would have thought the ridge is likely to be around here, and so that's why France, Spain, Portugal generally come out a little bit on the warmer than average side during week 2. Then we're into October. This is the week 3 temperature anomaly from the 1st through to the 7th of October. Again, a bit of a north-south split continuing. Really, so many northern parts of Europe, from the UK and Ireland through Scandinavia, Denmark, and then go over the Baltic into the northeast of Europe and the west of Russia, looking rather cooler than average. The anomalies are easing as we go further out. The model is losing the strength of the signal, but the north of Europe looking generally quite cool, and southern parts of Europe, I think we can say, a little bit on the warmer side, especially through the south of France down to the Mediterranean into Spain, Portugal, Italy. Looks like overall it's a little bit on the warmer than average side for those southern parts of Europe, and cooler up in the north of Europe. The precipitation anomaly for week 3 from the 1st to the 7th of October. Again, the signal is weakening the further out we're going, but it looks like the UK, Ireland, northern parts of France, Belgium, Holland, possibly into Western Germany, coming out rather drier than average. Otherwise, not a big deviation anywhere close to average really for most parts of Europe. Norway, again, looking a bit wetter than average. Some of these Mediterranean areas, especially around Italy, a little bit wetter than average for those areas perhaps. But overall, the signal is weakening. Looks like the far northwest of Europe, west of Europe is rather dry than average. Most other places close to average. And then finally we're into week 4, which is the 8th through to the 14th of October. Again, the signal's weakening all the time, but we still have this ongoing message that it might be a bit cooler than average to the UK, Ireland, and potentially going up to Norway as well. So, does look like a much cooler month of it coming up in the far northwest of Europe. And UK is included in that, although we're starting off quite warm. Down across England and Wales at the moment. Overall, this looks like a relatively cool sort of period coming up, really, over the next month. Most other parts of Europe, again, we're very close to average. Southeastern, southern Europe, maybe hinting at being a little bit warmer than average there. Precipitation-wise, the Mediterranean looks increasingly unsettled, above average rainfall through the Med, affecting the holiday areas of Mallorca and Ibiza and over Corsica, Sardinia, Malta as well will be included in that. So signal to be rather wet and average, probably from autumnal thunderstorms through the Med. Most other parts of Europe, again, looking close to average with precipitation as the signal is weakening away. The fact that northern and northwest parts of Europe are signalled to be rather cooler than average probably hints that we're going to have more influence from the jet stream, though. So I would suspect overall it's probably a relatively unsettled, relatively changeable period for the UK and for Ireland. That will probably cover Scandinavia as well, particularly Norway, but maybe at times Sweden too. Most central parts of Europe, it looks like we start off really quite warm and dry with high pressure dominating, and over time probably going more unsettled, and that will be most likely as we get in towards October. And then down in the Med, it looks relatively warm actually, not too bad with temperatures, but as we go further on, it looks like those autumnal thunderstorms are increasing, as you would expect. Getting further on into the autumn, the warm Mediterranean Sea will generate instability, and so you're likely to have an increasing threat of thunderstorms as you go, particularly through to October. So it looks like everything is trending where you would expect, really, at this point of the year, going increasingly autumnal, I think, across many parts of Europe, is the message. And looking, after this fairly warm first week, looking relatively cool for the UK and for Ireland. Right, we'll be back later on this afternoon with our video update, which will be on the homepage, and that's going to have a look at the weather for next week to 10 days, so come back for that then. That is all for now, and thanks for watching.